Hi everyone, you're all welcome to this evening's webinar on managing health and safety on the farm. My name is Orla. I'm an environmental health and safety specialist with Aurivo Agribusiness. I'm delighted to be joined here with Christopher Tuffy, who is a dairy farmer from Sligo and was FBD Young Farmer of the Year in 2022. We also have John McNamara and Francis Bligh from Teagasc, both who are health and safety specialists and both who are great advocates for farm safety. Just before we kick off, can I just ask everyone just to put their mic on mute, if that's okay? And if anyone has any questions, you can pop them into chat. Please note this webinar is being recorded. This webinar will bring attention to the importance of managing health and safety on the farm and is to encourage farmers to make a change for a safer place of work. Farming remains the most dangerous occupation in Ireland and accounts for 50% of workplace fatalities. With some pre-planning and adjustments to the way we work, these accidents can be prevented. There are three main steps in managing health and safety on the farm, and they are realising an accident can happen and having a positive attitude towards health and safety. Always remember you are the most important asset on the farm. Ensure you carry out risk assessments to identify every hazard, the risk involved, and identify safety controls you can put in place. And thirdly, the most important step is putting in place safety controls and developing good habits that you can ensure that work is carried out safely at all times. Now I'll hand you over to Christopher on how he manages health and safety on his farm.
Thanks, Orla. I suppose thanks very much for inviting me on to this tonight. I suppose just a small bit of background about myself. I'm a 32-year-old dairy farmer alongside my parents and my partner Emer and our little baby Orla. So it's a family farmer as we see it as. So I started out farming about when I came home from college. I done the Green Cert, and then I done dairy herd management in Kildalton. Came home in 2011 and leased a farm of land, 150 acres, 35 miles away from home. My father was always milking, and we decided to go. It wasn't big enough for the two of us, so we were lucky enough to get a leased block of ground. It was developed it and started milking 90 cows in 2012 on it. And over the years, we have built our cow numbers up to 150 cows. So traditionally we were a liquid milk herd, and now we're a full spring calving herd. The system is very simple. We calve all the cows and keep them below on the farm in Sligo on the lease block, and the heifer calves go home to the home farm and they're kept till they're 2 years old, where they return back to the herd in Sligo. And all male calves and beef calves are sold off farms. So it's a very straightforward system. As I said, we're full spring calving, high EBI herd with a focus on utilising grass and producing milk solids. And I suppose, as Orla said, I was very lucky to win FBD Young Farmer of the Year last autumn, and I was very proud to be the first person from the west of Ireland to do so, or from not the west of Ireland, from Sligo to do so, the northwest. We've had a good few winners in the west over the last few years, and we're only delighted to get the chance to represent Sligo. So that's where I am at the moment. So we're just finished calving, and we started into breed last Wednesday. So that's all going good.
Very good. And Christopher, you have a number of people working for you there. How do you manage them when they start working for you, and how do you introduce them to the farm?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I suppose we do pride ourselves in enjoying farming as much as we can. So that involves having quite a few part-time labour units around the farm. And I suppose the most important thing for us it is the safety of these lads, and to make it as an enjoyable and safe place to work. So I suppose we take a variety of different people. I suppose starting out, our main lad we have is Kevin, and we're very lucky that he came from a farming background, but he had a good bit of dairy experience when he landed to me. He worked on another dairy farm, and he was quite tuned into dairy. So all we had to do was get him up to speed when he first came here. He came here first in 21 when we were during COVID, he was at home from college. But we do take on a lot of students, and this year we took a local lad on for the spring. He was a local kid. He's not from a dairy farm background. He's not from a farm background at all, but he loves farming, and he came into us. So the most important thing for us is to give them the time, the opportunity to teach them and show them how the farm works, how the farm operates, to make sure they understand everything that's happening. And the most important thing for us is we have a process for everything. And we use, I think they call them in your industry, maybe they call them CPOs, where every single day the same thing kind of happens. Now, obviously, it's not the same, but every cow she calves, she goes into the same pen after calving. The dry cows, the springers, the calves go into the same pen. They all get colostrum as soon as they're born. It eliminates any dangers, and it makes sure the full farm runs in the cycle, and it stops any breakdown in communication, so everyone knows exactly what they're doing. We make sure they're fully trained up before the start, and it really streamlines the way that the farm operates.
Very good. And farming can be very physically demanding. How do you manage manual handling on the farm there?
Yeah, well, like for us, we've invested heavily in technology in the last few years, and it's made the farm safer, and it's definitely made the farm more efficient. Like, I suppose, to go through the different little bits and pieces we have, I suppose one of the two biggest dangers we see on the farm is machinery and livestock. And I'm not probably sure the statistics, but I'm pretty sure they're the highest levels of incidents of accidents on farms. So starting off with livestock, look, there's not much you can do with a cow. I suppose we might go into that later on about how you should be, the way we work it. But we've seen huge risks in bulls on the farm, and we were using a lot. We've done the first 3 weeks of AI, and I know any dairy farmer who watches this will know the crack. You do the first 3 weeks of AI, and all the cows are coming in heat, and there's no problem, and we're AI away. And then you hit the second 3 weeks, and the heat slow down, and we're using a lot of teaser bulls. And we were finding a lot of issues with the teaser bulls, and it was nearly a brief with the relief milkers how to handle them, and it was I felt it was an accident waiting to happen. And we had a couple of incidents in the summer of 2020 where teaser bulls were turning cows on the roadways, and they were causing issues on in the collecting area. Even though they're ringed and they were ringed and chained, I just had to get rid of them. And I put in collars in the cows, and we've moved to 100%. We've moved to 100% AI with the main dairy herd. Now we do have a couple of bulls still with the heifers, because we put collars in because the home block's a bit more fragmented. We also put in a drafting gate, which works automatically off the phone. It's synced with the collars, so there's less handling with cows, separating them. Which, if we want to AI them, if we want to scan cows, whatever we need to do with cows, we can do it from the phone. It's a safe operation on moving cows. There's something simple this year. We obviously calving gets very intense, and we get a build up of calves, and we use hutches outside, which we find great. We put jackets on the calves and we put them outside. But we used to have to lift the calves out or drag them out, or whatever way you want to put it. Like this year, we bought a crate. It costs us €1,100. It goes on the front of the loader. You can put about 10 calves into it. And the difference, the lads who work here, the student that works here, Kevin, the lad who's here a few years, found that it was something simple. That instead of going out and hauling and dragging a calf out, or trying to lift the calf out and put it into the trailer, you put the calf, pull the teleporter up to the door of the calf pin, put in your calves nice and easy, and it's less stress on the calf. Like moving a calf around that's 3 weeks old, and it's mad to get going. Like it's a health and safety hazard. Someone will, and I've heard of farmers hurting their backs moving calves around, and the distance between the calf shed and the hutches was a good distance. It's the same if someone comes in to buy calves the day of the mart. There's no hauling and big handling of calves. We just bring in our crate, load the calves into it, and put them out. A few other things, we used to have to manually scrape the shed, go in and scrape the shed. We put in an automatic scraper. And we have a calf feeder on the farm in the Scroll, which my father, and even though he won't like me saying that, he's not as young as he used to be, but we decided a few years ago he got sick of carrying and hauling buckets around with the calves and going in mixing milk powder and carrying all these buckets up the calves every evening. So we put an automatic calf feeder in to reduce the workload there and reduce the demand. Like, I suppose that's the way, like, it doesn't, some of it doesn't overly reduce our labor. Like the collars, we still have to get the relief milker in. We still have to pick up the cows and heat, but it makes the farm more enjoyable and a lot safer for our staff that's working. It makes the farm more enjoyable place overall. So we think technology has played a huge part from that point of view. It makes the farm a lot smoother to run and a lot safer to run.
Okay, perfect. And I'm assuming you have your cameras in place and everything, so there's no
Yes,
stress.
yeah. We've calving cameras, and again, Jesus, they're magic. Like a few years ago, we were going over checking a cow, and now we can just watch it here on the iPad and let you know we've cameras in the calving shed and the cubicle shed. So it's brilliant. Yeah, yeah. Something should have mentioned, but cameras, yeah, absolutely essential. Yeah.
Perfect. So you have a number of machinery there. What pre-checks or maintenance do you do there to make sure that
I suppose that we won't have a huge pile of machinery on the farm, but what we have fertilizer spreader quad, we fertilizer spreader quads, tractor, teleporter, and your mowers and a few bits. The biggest thing is every machinery that has PCO has to have a cover. I don't think that's even, I think that should be given at this stage. There's a helmet on the quad. Now the machinery is fairly new. The quad is brand new this year. We have a helmet for the quad. We used to have a bit of trouble getting some of the younger lads to wear the helmet, and then there was a little incident where a kid not far from here it wasn't a serious accident, and I think that kind of tuned them in a bit more. Now the odd time we do go off without the helmet, but if I spread a lot of my fertilizer with the quad, I always wear the helmet because if you came off, you haven't much of a hope. All machinery is regularly checked. It's up to date. All the service is always kept. Everything is always kept right. We try to keep everything right. We don't have much machinery, but what we have, we generally find we generally try to keep everything right. Just an example: the handbrake wasn't working on the teleporter this spring. And before I got the student in, I got the mechanic in to make sure everything was right and fix the handbrake. Just making sure that if he's feeding around bale, at least when the teleporter is there, cutting the roll forward, if you're cleaning out a calf pin, just different bits and pieces. It's small little things like that. Like we talk about, I see health and safety as more small. Make sure every small bit is right. And I suppose the biggest thing we always be saying here about health and safety or an accident is try not to be rushing and racing. But yeah, look on machinery, everything is kept fairly right.
Perfect. Yeah, and then your checks on your tractor, and then just check.
Yeah, right. It's always the tractor is. To be fair, we're very lucky. The garage is only a mile from home, so every time something small goes wrong, we try to bring it over. I nearly got a heart attack when I seen the price of a new tractor there last year. So I try to keep the one I have as right as I can for another while.
Yeah, perfect. How do you manage then with contractors? Do you have contractors come in after the summer to do silage or fertilizer or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I do my own fertilizer, but out from that, contractors do everything else. I'd like to think I'm a cow man, but I'm definitely not a machinery man. So we use contractors as much as we can. Contractors, all the silage are seen, 100% of the slurry. I might mow a small bit of grass for paddocks ahead of the cows, and they'd rake them and come in and bale them. But we utilize contractors as much as we can, and we're very lucky. We have good contractors. We find if we give them plenty of notice for work, it makes it a lot easier. It makes their life easier. It makes my life easier. Pay them regularly, and I generally get great service. As I said when I started, we have 2 farms. We have a lot of contractors between both farms. We have a great relationship with all of them, and we get super service from all our contractors. So as I said, I won't be going out buying a new tractor anytime soon. We'll be utilizing the contractors as much as we can.
Yeah. And what say when you're spreading slurry, what precautions do you take?
Yeah, well, look at it as again. It's the contractor that comes in. He mixes the tanks from outside. It's his. It's up to him. There was a couple of years ago. I noticed him on a PCO cover off, and he didn't notice that he had a young lad mixing the slurry for a few weeks. And I said it to him, and he put it on straight away. So we're quite lucky. The contractors we have fairly new equipment, and again, that's essential for health and safety. But no, look, we leave it up to the contractors to make sure they have their own health and safety in check. But to be fair, they're all very good. They all have experienced drivers on the tractors. They all have new machinery now. So we're lucky from that point of view. We're touch wood, there's never been an accident, and I'd be hoping with the contractors we have that there never would be. To be fair, our contractors are very good. It's I wouldn't tolerate a mess around the place, to be honest, because as I said, there's mission farms are too dangerous to have a messers around the place. And as I said, the lads we have are top class.
Perfect. And you would have a few chemicals with you on the farm, lime and that kind of thing.
Well, I suppose that I told you this when we were talking the other day. I suppose you were talking about health and safety, and I learned the hard way. January last year, January 22, I was feeding the cows one evening fairly late in the evening. It was the height. It was just after Christmas, and COVID was rampant. I suppose there was nothing else going on, and I was just lying in the cubicles. I had the mask on and never put on a pair of goggles, and I just had the scoop in my hand like that, just thrown on, and the cow just reversed off the cubicle in a shot, hit my hand, and the line went into my eyes. And I can guarantee you, if anyone ever had experience I had that night, they'd never put out lime on cubicles without having goggles. I was lucky. Our farm was only 5 minutes. And within 10 minutes of the accident happened, I was in A&E in Sligo, and we got the eye washed out. There was no long-term damage, but I tell you, the pain I went through for a few days was something else, and that kind of sharpened us up. The biggest thing with the chemicals is we have a pair of goggles obviously the only chemicals really we use. The contractor does the spraying. He comes in, to be fair to him, he's done the course. He comes in with his gloves and his goggles on too. I think actually years ago when he was younger, he said he got a bit of a chemical in his eye, and as more than myself, it's always the hardest lesson to learn. But we have a pair of goggles. They're a simple pair of goggles. You buy them for €4 or €5 in Aurivo or any co-op, and we just slip them on when we're handling the chemicals in the dairy. I think if you got a chemical on your hat or on your skin, you'd survive it. You'd wash it off fairly quickly. I know it's not nice. If you get a chemical, paracetic acid, any of them chemicals into your eye, I wouldn't like it now, to be honest. It would that's when things get serious. So from that point of view, in terms of handling chemicals, the lads have the gloves on for milking, obviously, but the goggles for me and a mask while using the goggles while doing lining the cubicles and the mask, and the goggles while handling the chemicals for the wash up. Out from that, there's no other real chemicals on the farm. But again, it's the simple things. The goggles aren't expensive. Like I learned that the hard way with the lime. I went in the next day into the co-op to buy the goggles, and I think they were a tenner. Tenner would have saved me an awful lot of hardship. So it's just them little simple bits.
Perfect. And just one last thing, I'm just wondering how you manage your time with everything going on.
Yeah, it's busy. This spring was very busy between bits and pieces off farm. Small baby, and just a lot going on. But the biggest thing we find with labour and keeping labour happy is first off, we try to make as early as we can in the morning. So this weather now, we're coming on in the morning at 6 o'clock. The Ironman comes in 7:15. So we try to milk as early as possible in the morning, which then allows us to make early in the evening. So we're finished generally on the farm, or we're finished milking at 6 o'clock. And if I want to come in the evening, or if there's a bit extra work to be done, at least the cows are milked. So that gives us the discipline, and it just makes the farm a lot more attractive place to work. And that's a bit of feedback I've got from the relief milker and relief milkers who milk for other people. is that the fine. I was chatting to one lad, and he was doing milking for a lad, and he stopped. He said the biggest reason was, he said he was out till 8 or 9 o'clock every night working. And that's the biggest thing we found with our relief milkers, is they love being finished early in the evening. And they're out of the yard 5:30, 6 o'clock, all done, calves fed. Look, and I don't, our student was there all spring with us. I don't think there was any evening he was there after 5:30. I find it very important during the calving season to be finished early. I just find the night gets very long if you don't finish till 7 or 8 o'clock, because you're always going back out around 9 or 10 just to have a look around or whatever it is, or there's a cow calving. Most evenings there'll be something going on. But if you can be finished at 6 o'clock and into the house, you have 3 or 4 hours, you can sit down, a bit of help for me, it'd be helping Emer put the baby to bed, or put Orla to bed, or have a bit of crack with him or something. Or during the summer, I didn't play much football yet this year. Hopefully I might get a chance to go back and play a bit during the summer. Now, we normally I'd be gone back at this stage now, but we had a good bit going on this year. But yeah, I go to the gym in the evenings, or there's always something going on, and it's great. I think it's hugely important to have outlets, but there's no point having outlets if you're not organised and you can't be finished in time in the evening. And I think that's one hard lesson I've learned over a few years or not a hard lesson, a good lesson I've learned is if you know, for yourself and for your workers, if you can try to be finished as early as possible in the evening, it makes a huge difference. And I think it makes your job more enjoyable. You know, everyone else is finishing at 6 o'clock. I know we have to start 3 or 4 hours earlier than people in the morning, but there's no point in out 3 or 4 hours after them in the evening. So yeah, for me, managing time and off-farm time is about keeping your labour happy. You let them have the opportunity to finish early in the evening and get finished early yourself as possible. Now, even though Emer might be given out if she was here, she said, how many evenings do you be finished before 6 o'clock? But to be fair, there's not too many evenings unless there's something going on. We'd be out after that. And look, again, when we put in the collars too, this time of year, we used to also have to go back out and check the cows late at night for heats, check which cows paint was going off. And since we put the collars in, we have the luxury of not having to come back in the evening time. So that's yeah, again, technology is playing a role there. Yeah.
Great, thanks very much, Christopher. So I'll just hand over now to John and Francis there from Teagasc.
No, Francis is going to put up my slides, I think. Just before Francis does that, I'd like to compliment you, Christopher, on your award #1, FBD Young Farmer of the Year for last year. But I think the real benefit of the way you farm is that like there's an income in it. #1, economics, sustainability. Social sustainability. Your family life. Your health and safety, and that. And we haven't discussed it today, but environmental sustainability as well. So all 3 sustainability issues kind of come together. I just want to go through a few quick slides, and maybe Francis, you might just move on, please. Yeah. Now, I think we want to be on the positive side here tonight, but accidents are horrific. This is a man that I admire greatly, Norman Bradley. He's there promoting safety, with the Health and Safety Authority, to prevent tragedy, pain and suffering, disability, income loss, and that. Now, COVID, as I've put that there, but thankfully it's gone. But it's we need to being aware of it also. Right. Now, this is a graphic that I always use, really, and the point I'd make is that you can't separate the farm from the farmer, right? If the farm is well managed safety-wise, then lots and lots of hazards get sorted out, and there's always something to be done, and that. Now, a study that we've done says that farmers forget about safety when the pressure comes on, but I think for good management, we can manage things so that, that there isn't, we can get rid of the pressure. Pressure is for tires, as it were. using contractors, having good facilities, having good organized systems, having backup relief labor come to mind. So we want to cut out rushing and, behavior. There's two aspects to health and safety. One is behavior and the other is the facilities. And we all need to work on both. Okay, I'm not going to say too much about it tonight, but the risk assessment document is there. It's really the state's way of giving guidance in practice. It's a practical book. I'm glad to say it's used by about 75% of farmers. The only point I would make is that, use it more. There's about 12 action lists on it for the different components of a machine. And then at the back, there is an actual action list. And, what needs to be done should be done. And, I was compliments, Christopher. You mentioned it to the contractor that the power shaft was broken, and he fixed it. And that's what we need to do. We just need to keep working at safety. Right. Now, here's a slide on fatal accident causation. And I'm glad to say it's showing a downward trend. But, one is always one too many. And that now what we have seen is, first of all, with childhood, like they're under 5. Last year, I'm glad to say the figure was 0. But we should never be complacent. An accident can happen at any stage. Back in 2020, there were three on farms. The next line, the green line, is 17 to 64, and that has come down fairly dramatically. Let's call them younger to midlife farmers. Now, but what has happened since about 2015 is that older farmers over 65, the accident rate has come down. Now, the last 2 years were good, that the fatal accident rate was down around 12 or 13 as opposed to 21 per annum. So that's progress, but we all need to keep working to keep accidents of all sides, particularly fatal accidents, down. So far this year, I'm sorry to say that 3 fatalities have taken place. There was 2 the weekend before last or thereabouts related to bull attacks, and there was a previous one related to machinery operation, machinery movement. Okay, Francis. Yeah. Now, dairying has a high accident rate. So this is work we've done with the National Farm Survey. We're doing it every year now, and that. Now, it shows that this was the last time we did a 5-year survey, and it shows that 18% of dairy farmers had an accident, a non-fatal accident in the previous 5 years. Now, farmers really report serious accidents. A high proportion of them lead to hospitalization and to loss of work time, being out of work, and in many cases, very high work time loss, like, let's say 3 days or more, some cases 10, 20, 30 days. Thanks, Francis. Yeah. Right. So the big issues, as you said, Christopher, are tractors, and really around the farm, tractor knockdowns, people on steps, people being struck, and that is a big issue, So it's about, and a lot of this happens in the farmyard. So it's about watching out for blind spots, driving at a reasonable pace and talking to other family members, just to make sure that they're conscious of tractors at all times. The other big issue, as you've said, is cows around calving, particularly. They protect their calves, and they can attack at short range. Okay. Now, a lot of farmers have gone for kind of group calving in straw sheds, but we'd advise farmers to have a pen where they can halter the animal, and this is a safety one that is being used. The gate is open from the front, and it allows total protection of the operator. You can catch the cow, and there is a cesarean gate in it. So having facilities like that cuts down the risk. Okay, no, I think all sorts of things keep happening on farms. No, but I think the farmer, the adults, people like you and me, we must take the lead. In this case here, a young lad hops up on the step and, wants to get into the tractor or wants to draw attention. The adult is in control, really should stop the tractor, make it safe, and, give a positive safety message to the younger person. Now, we have done a lot of research on health and safety, and, we find like parent, like sibling, young people won't develop the right habits unless they get the right example and, the right tuition. Now, at that, I think I'll hand over to my colleague, Francis Bligh, who is based in the northern half of the country out of Teagasc, Roscommon. Thanks, Francis.
Hello, everybody. Yes, thank you, John. So I'll just follow on from what John was saying there. It's very, very important, and the point that Christopher made there. It's very easy, I suppose, to look at problems and not say anything about them or not doing anything about them. So like that can be on your own farm, things that to be wrong, or that need a little bit of, I suppose, extra effort to make the changes needed to make things safe. And also, if you see machinery being used on your own farm that isn't safe or been used in an unsafe manner, to have I suppose, the confidence to talk to the person that's doing the work to make sure that they do it in a safe way. They may, the main person involved in the work mightn't just know that the machine is defective, or that this cover is missing, or there's something been done in a way that isn't safe. So if you see something risky, it's important to call it out, and it'll be happening on other farms if it's only happening on yours. So you can see here, a properly covered PTO shaft means that it reduces the risk, to a very low level, and then a proper operation isn't very important. And the first people involved in machinery looking at this picture here will straight away tell us that the arms are in the wrong location. Once the tractor turns left or right, the arms are going to rub off the PTO shaft cover. That cover is going to get damaged, and then is the farmer going to get that cover changed if it has been damaged? So it's important to think about it. You can have very good machinery, well covered, but if you're not managing your P's and Q's when you're operating the machines, or you're given direction, you heard earlier what Christopher says. He takes the time, spends time with these workers or people that are working on his farm to make sure they're fully aware of all the risks involved in the jobs that they're doing, so that they understand the complications and issues are arising from unsafe practices, or not doing the work in the way that he'd like it to be done. Other issues that arise around machinery, and we talk a lot about machinery because one of the bigger killers is that crush injury. And you heard what Christopher said earlier as well, in relation to taking the time to getting the handbrake fixed on the loader. Once we know that there's an issue with a machine or a tractor, we need to take the time and put in the money to get that fixed. And I know it's not always easy to find that money or to allocate it to these types of jobs. And maybe you'll miss the tractor for the number of days that it's in the workshop getting fixed. But it's important to do it, and it's important to take away that risk, because if the handbrake isn't working effectively, then crush injuries can occur, and people are killed every year due to that happening. And handbrakes is one of the big area. Either they're not being used by people, not being pulled up correctly by people, or they're not working in the first place. So these are the things we need to be thinking about, and we need to do things about them to make sure they're not causing accidents on farms. What is the HSA saying, or what are the main topics? And you heard Christopher saying it earlier. Make sure there's the tractor is well maintained. Send it in for someone that's competent. If you're not fully sure yourself, get someone that's competent to look it over, that can do the work and can do it correctly, and that it's well maintained. Make sure all controls are working and in working order. Very, very important also that if things aren't working, that, you know, that's communicated and that machine isn't, that someone else can't hop up on the tractor and start using it when you're the only person that knows that there's something on that machine that isn't working correctly. So take action to make sure that machines can't be taken and used when they're not working correctly. Again, I'll emphasize the brakes, make sure they're checked regularly and they're working. The safe stop procedure, you know, carry out that safe stop procedure, stop the machine, you know, let down all the equipment, make sure it's in park, put up the handbrake, you know, turn it off and take away the key and make sure that it's secure and safely stopped. That all relevant guards are in place and that hydraulics are correctly working. Mirrors, lights, wipers are in good working order at all times. And, you know, this time of the year, sometimes machines can get dirty and windows can get dirty, and it can reduce the level of vision that you have from these machines. Sometimes during dry weather, dust can build up, and then when you get a shower rain, it can reduce the visibility from the tractor cab. So all these things can kind of cause, I suppose, blind spots around machines. And when you have blind spots around machines, operators may not see people or cars or other machines, and, you know, accidents can happen. You know, make sure people are aware of the operator's manual and that they're fully trained and, you know, that they know what they're doing and there's a bit of time spent with them before they're let off to do jobs, that you know that they're competent to do them before they start working. You know, that drivers and contractors receive clear instruction. If contractors are coming in on the farm to do a job and you know there to be some area that could cause a risk or a hazard, make sure that that's pointed out and that they're aware of it. And that drivers, that drivers are operating safely. The other big area, and I know Christopher mentioned it earlier about the quad bike and having the helmet. It's important that everyone knows that there's new regulations coming into effect in 2023. And the new regulations require every person that operates a quad bike or ATV to have successfully completed an all-terrain vehicle safety training course provided by a registered training provider to a QQI standard or equivalent. So that really means that it can't be just yourself that provides training. Obviously, it's important to complement the training that people on your farm might receive. So they don't just receive the training and you're expecting them to go off and operate these quads without your input. You need to, as a farmer, provide instruction and training in addition to the training that they may receive from the course that they attend. So yourself, if you're operating the quad, or any other person from your family operating the quad, has to have the training done, and any labourer or any person that's working on your farm also needs to have the training done. In addition to that, the regulation requires that personal protective equipment is provided and worn by the operator of the quad bike, which means helmets recommended by the manufacturer are used. And also that a risk assessment is conducted before using the quad bike. And again, back to what we said about the tractor, that it's well maintained, that brakes are working correctly, that they're pulling even, that the driver is driving it safely, and that it's used in conditions that are appropriate to its use. The other area that we just like to emphasize, I suppose, is that if you're working on a farm and you need to get certain types of work done, that it's important, I suppose, to get people in that do the work. And we heard from Christopher that, the contractor knows what they're doing, they have the correct equipment, and that they're aware, I suppose, of the dangers associated with slurry. It does account for 10% of deaths. It's important to pick a windy day to do it and cover all openings, but also working on fragile roofs. Are you taking time to make sure that the people that work on your roofs are competent to do the work? Do you try to do this work yourself with equipment that mightn't be up to scratch? And it's important to, consider these things before you start these tasks and make decisions in relation to making sure that the jobs are done safely. I know John might I suppose comment on this as well. John has done a very large amount of research in this particular area and a lot recently as well. But that particular message there, and we heard from Christopher in relation to the work-life balance and making sure that he's not overworked and making sure that there are people to come in to help to do work on the farm, that they are, as he said, minded, and that they're happy doing the work they're doing and that they find it appropriate. That issue there with circulatory disease 5 times higher among farmers, cancer 3 times higher among farmers, and just generally being injured, a 7 times higher likelihood among the farmer community. So what are we doing to try and reduce those figures? And I suppose Christopher is a good model there to try and bring those levels down, or do the best for himself in relation to his own health and other people on the farm. And I know John might come in afterwards just to comment on that. What are the main messages we're trying to deliver here? Actively manage your health. Use resources that are available. Teagasc are available in relation to any advice that we can provide, and various advisors are available as well to help with that workload management, efficiency on the farm, and managing the farm in the safe way. And I know Christopher is involved in discussion groups and gets a lot of support from his fellow farmers and great ideas as well on how to manage things. Safe facilities and behavior, avoiding being hurried and rushing, that goes back to being managed and planned and organized. If you're rushing and running, then it means you're not fully organized or you need more help on the farm. Health and safety, your most valuable asset. Very easy to say, but what are you doing yourself to make sure that you know that and you recognize that and you value that? What do we try and do in Teagasc? I suppose we do as much as we can to get messages out, to support people, and to encourage, I suppose, farmers, and working with Aurivo and discussion groups and various other organizations to get messages out to try and encourage farmers to be as safe as they can, and to have the knowledge and I suppose the information needed to do that in a safe way. So Orla, I'll hand back and you can ask any questions that you might have.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Francis. No questions have come in yet, so if anyone has any questions, just pop them into the chat there. I'd just like it to end there, where I'd like to thank our speakers, John, Francis, and Christopher, and thanks for all the preparation that you put into this webinar, and also to everyone that has joined as well. So that's everything from us. So thanks very much if there's no further questions.
Question, please. Could I just maybe make a brief comment,
Yeah.
No, and I'd like to compliment Christopher, and I'd comment on the health questions that we're into total health, and safety and health go together. If people are in poor health, especially as they go on in years, like it increases the risk of an accident. Now the cardiovascular one, now that's related to diet, not getting a health check, not getting to the doctor on time, not getting aerobic exercise, something that gets the heart going. It's very good to be able to have time, to get off the farm, to take exercise. And I know that Christopher is into football and plays it, but that's great. But as you get on in years, Christopher, I'm sure you can think of lots of other things, to do, climb Bear and Belbunban. I do hill walking and farmers are in the group, but, it is a crucial message as well as safety, health, but it's all integrated. If the farm is taking up all your time, then it'll distract you from health.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. Thank you. So no questions in there. Thanks very much, Christopher, Francis, and John. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Orla.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.